I love him. Mm-hmm.
His
All right.
aneurysms as an actor, like,
Aneurysms.
or
Mannerisms.
No. How come it sounds different when you say it?
oh my god.
Welcome to the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweedy, Matthew Johnson, Nick Thomas, and Lynn Dudgeon.
Welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I'm your host, Joe Tweeton, and rocking this nerdy talk today with me over to one side is the Lynn Dudgeon.
Hey-o.
What is up, buddy?
Not a lot. Chilling with you guys.
Sweet. And joining us additionally is Nick Thomas. Nicholas, how goes it?
Fantastic. With a tank full of awesome.
Ah, there it is. It might catch on. We'll see. And rounding out the cast tonight is the return, 2 episodes in a row, of the bearded ginger, Matthew Johnson.
Me?
Yeah, you, buddy. Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hey, welcome back.
Wait, 2 in a row? Are you serious?
Yeah, dude, you were on episode 69.
69.
And,
what?
and of all episode numbers, we covered Disney, a family-friendly topic.
That's pretty ironic, actually.
It is talking
Yeah.
about a soulless company with a soulless gender. I mean, I'm joking.
Well, he took it
I
there.
quit.
I'm joking. You.
You got to stop throwing out those threats, Matthew. I might actually fall for it one of these days. It's not. It's just not cool. Guys, so this episode is gonna be a little packed with some cool news, some exciting news. At the top of the list, we'll cover a couple things like Apple's TV streaming service, details on that. We'll review a few shows, but the number one topic today that hit the internet in just the last couple days, even at the time of this recording, is Sony and Marvel's announcement that they finally pulled their heads out of their asses. Oh, sorry, I see you changed it to butts.
Beep.
My bad. Thanks for editing, Nick. So,
You mean
Bad bit.
Disney got their butts out of their heads out of their butts?
well, I think there were quite a few heads up others' butts during this whole debacle.
Well-
And finally,
Purposefully or like by
well, we're talking
good
about
Sure.
we're talking corporations here, so it's most assuredly
Again,
Both.
Disney did nothing wrong there.
no. And
No, they just wanted more money.
Which they deserved.
No.
hey,
They sold Spider-Man a long time ago because they were going under.
okay,
Legitimately. So
okay,
I'll just leave it at that.
It's we're all entitled to our opinions. This is an opinion-based podcast for the most part, but we do have some diligence to our nerds that are due, filling out some of those opinions with some of our facts. I'll recap what we do know officially did happen after back and forth clickbait articles left and right. Good Lord. So at the start of this, roughly Marvel sold off its entire Spider-Man universe property to Sony back in the day for roughly $7 million. And Nick, I know you're fact-checking me right now. Come on, let me just burn through it. We don't need all the bullet points right here. Roughly $7 million for the entirety of Spider-Man. And Sony bought it up, and this was, 20, 30 years ago. at least 20 years ago. And it's not their fault that they've made a lot of money over all the different movies they've put out. Now, forward tracking to present MCU status and their billion-dollar movies they've been pumping out, and Sony's original deal with Marvel to include Spider-Man essentially went as such. I'm not quoting any articles right now, but this is roughly what did happen. They did a 5-picture deal. They agreed that Sony would not see a single dime from the 3 films that Marvel put out under the MCU label, but Sony would receive over 95% of all the profits for the 2 solo movies that they produced. Granted, Kevin Feige is a credited producer for those films, but as a deal of Kevin Feige helping them produce those films, they would keep all the profits and Disney would keep all their profits, but Disney still got a 5% cut from those solo movies. A small little side note detail in the contract included Sony being able to walk away from the contract if, and this is a crazy little detail in there, but if Marvel did not help them crack $1 billion on the last Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 2 Far From Home, then they had the option of backing out from any future deals if they wanted to. But yeah, you know what? Marvel cracked the $1 billion mark for them. And so they rounded out the 5 movies. And then they went into renegotiations for any additional films past that because it was only a 5-picture deal. Now, what was heard left and right was Disney came at them with a, hey, we want to do a couple more movies with you. Here's what we want. They did ask for more money from the solo Spider-Man movies. Now, Sony's disposition occurs from the fact that the only thing they own the rights to is the ability to do live-action movies with Spider-Man, whereas the MCU, Disney proper, gets all the merchandising profits because they never sold that over to Sony. So even though Sony's bankrolling all these solo movies, all the toys coming from those solo movies, Disney's banking. So Disney's making more than enough money, figuratively speaking, from $1 billion corporation here. And so I'll finish right here with and so it was a lot of back and forth, and I think maybe at one point they wanted to go in 50-50 with future films, and Sony was like, no, we don't want to do that. And then we were left up in the air wondering, will they ever repair this bridge that they both essentially were burning down? And by 50%, we covered this in a previous episode, they wanted to put 50% into the budget, meaning Disney was willing to pay for half the production, and they wanted half the profits. I think that's, at that time, could have been a fair deal, but Sony's still looking at the fact that Disney owns everything else, including merchandise rights, so Sony was kind of left wondering, is it fair, is it not? So the article we're pulling up today is there was a resolution, and we'll get into it in a minute. I'm going to let you guys throw out your feelings on how that went down. Nick, you seemed like you had something you wanted to interject with. No? Any other thoughts, Lynn or Matt, before we jump into the resolution here?
Do you have anything, Matt?
I think it's just about damn time that they pull their butts out of their heads out of their butts.
Pull the butts out of their heads. But
Yes.
I think, didn't they also, in the previous contract, also get, I can't remember if it's 2% or 5% of box office revenue. Yeah, it's 5. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 5.
They also get the 5%. Disney also gets 5% of box office revenue.
And I mean, 5% of $1 billion for that last movie, that's not a bad take when they get everything else, including toy sales,
and
collectibles, posters,
T-shirts, clothing,
everything, merchandising. Yeah, little kid costumes.
I'll take a crisp $50 million.
Any day of the week.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I'm good to move
So-
on. That's the only thing I had to add.
it's not a super long article. I'm gonna skim through some of this. So this article says from Screen Rant. Spider-Man returns to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Sony and Disney announce a third movie in the Spider-Man Homecoming franchise, produced by Marvel studio head Kevin Feige. In 2015, Sony and Marvel reached a deal to share Spider-Man and bring him into the MCU, with Tom Holland later cast as Peter Parker. He's since become an integral player in the MCU and closed out Phase 4 with Spider-Man Far From Home. However, earlier this summer, it was reported that Sony and Disney couldn't come to a new agreement to continue sharing Spider-Man, indicating the Wallcrawler would need to leave the MCU. The initial report was followed by other tidbits of information about where the deal broke down, what effect Dark Phoenix from the Fox acquisition may have had on Spider-Man, because there were rumors that Disney was greatly affected by the flop of Dark Phoenix and that they needed to recoup it, and so that's why they were asking for more money, blah, blah, blah. Leaving with a studio would be able to reach a new agreement. For their part, fans were outraged, studios failing to come together to keep Spider-Man in the MCU. After all, Holland's Spider-Man has become a fan favorite, with 2 successful solo movies under its belt, a trio of appearances in the MCU. Plus, with the Fantastic Four and X-Men back at Marvel, it seemed the MCU was poised to be able to truly adapt the whole Marvel universe for the first time. Fans can now rest assured that Spider-Man will remain in the MCU, at least for the time being. We got a second deal here that came into it. So Sony Pictures and Walt Disney announced a third movie, Homecoming, in the Homecoming franchise, that will be co-produced by the 2 studios. Marvel studio head Kevin Feige on board the third installment, along with producer Amy Pascal. She's like the lead gal from Sony. The studio set the film to hit theaters July 16th, 2021. As part of the deal, Spider-Man and if it's not mentioned here, I'll point out something that I think is kind of cool, what they talked about. Part of the deal, Spider-Man will also appear in another MCU movie, though specifically nothing's been revealed yet. Kevin Feige said about the deal, quote, "I'm thrilled that Spidey's journey in the MCU will continue, and I and all of us at Marvel Studios are very excited that we get to keep working on it. Spider-Man is a powerful icon and hero whose story crosses all ages and audiences around the globe. He also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes, so as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold." And that was a quote from Feige. His comments confirm Spider-Man will remain in the MCU, and he also teases the opportunity for Sony to use Holland's Spider-Man in their own Marvel villain universe, which we know with the Venom movies, Sony was been adamant about adding, this Tom Holland to it. Sony released Venom, which wasn't a major hit with critics, but won over audiences to the tune of $800 million at the worldwide box office. Currently, Sony has a host of projects in the works separate from the MCU, including Venom 2, Morbius the Living Vampire, Kraven the Hunter, Silk, and more. Although it remains to be seen whether Holland will actually appear in any of these movies, the possibility of Spider-Man in Venom 2 is sure to excite fans of both franchises. Rounding out this article, it says, as for the other future MCU movie Spider-Man will appear in, it's likely to be some kind of team-up, since that's what he previously showed up in for Marvel. Whether it's Avengers 5 or some other kind of team-up, though, remains to be seen. For now, the immediate ramifications of Sony and Disney's new deal are that Spider-Man remains in the MCU, meaning the filmmakers will be able to follow up with the cliffhanger ending of Far From Home in the manner they originally intended. Fans will get to see what becomes of Peter Parker after his secret... Spoiler warning for anyone that didn't see this movie, plug your ears.
I was gonna say, did anybody else see that movie?
I haven't.
Which one?
So I'm Far From Home.
Far From Home.
The twist ending here. I'm ruining it for myself, but I want to report on it. I'm giving everyone a spoiler warning here. Forward fast 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. The cliffhanger ending of Far From Home in the manner they originally intended. Fans will get to see what becomes of Peter Parker after his secret identity was outed by J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man Homecoming 3. They can look forward to at least one additional appearance of the Wallcrawler in the MCU after that. So, yeah, so we're going to see what happens after that. And yeah, I did not get a chance to see Far From Home, so I basically ruined it for myself. Thank you guys for skipping ahead if you didn't want it ruined.
I think Lynn wants to say something.
Yeah, Lynn.
Before I forget, so you brought up a line in that article from Feige's about the multiverse and how he's the only one that can cross it. Okay.
I think Kevin Feige is being facetious in his statements. I think he's teasing and just because what I'm saying is that in the films up to this point, no other character has been seen crossing any universes. Doctor Strange aside, because that's not the same thing. What he means here is seeing other doppelgangers from other worlds.
Okay,
Am
well,
I wrong?
Hold on. Here's where I'm going with this. If you'll let me finish.
Sorry.
The
Go
new
ahead.
Spider-Man movie comes out right after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
So I think something at the end of the Doctor Strange movie will tie in, and that might be a hint, and you might see it.
Right. The part right here where he said, quote, Spider-Man is a powerful icon and hero whose story crosses all ages and audiences. He also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes. He was cracking a joke in that statement by pointing out as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold. Because right now, Sony's like, we're doing the Venom thing, we're doing the Rogues Gallery, Morbius, blah, blah, blah. And the MCU can't touch all those other characters right now. With the current deal, it's just Tom Holland. So Kevin, I know maybe you were cracking a joke there, but Kevin Feige was also just cracking a joke about cinematic universes. Because no other MCU character had okay. Tony Stark was in Spider-Man, so I think that was kind of a poor joke on his part. Matthew.
Yeah.
Did you guys check out who's gonna play Morbius?
I have details of those things, but I didn't put them in the notes today.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
Why?
It's not going to be the Joker. It ain't going to be that.
He's a great actor.
He's good in other things.
I don't think so.
What else have you seen him in, Matthew? Did you see Blade 20 whatever?
Yes.
Did you not like him there?
No.
No.
He's one of our generation's best actors.
Well,
I like to disagree. That's just me.
It's opinion based here.
Matt Smith is also in the movie.
Wait, who?
Matt Smith?
Doctor Who? Doctor Who number 3?
He wears a fez because fezzes are cool.
Anyways.
So, guys, let's round out our opinion on this. As far as Spider-Man staying in the MCU, how satisfied or excited are we about this finally coming to fruition? And how many of you think this was a PR move and they were just stringing us along this whole time?
I kind of think that too. I'm extremely excited that I'm actually going to be able to see what happens in the next movie.
Unless Sony throws it again.
Because I watched Far From Home, and that last freaking scene just made me yell out, "What?" in the movie theater.
Hold on, I detected a note of cynicism in Nick, and I didn't quite hear his underlying Sony bash. What did you say?
I said unless Sony throws a fit again and pulls out.
Well, they can't pull out prior to the contract of the next film being made. So
But
the next film is
nobody likes
confirmed
to
be
pull
made.
out anyways. Oh, wait, what?
That is, well, we're not gonna we're gonna move on. Lynn, any concluding thoughts?
I'm excited, and it shouldn't have ever been a question.
Yeah, I think part of this was some PR crap. It created headlines to keep people interested, and you don't need to keep people interested. I think it's just kind of
Well-
pointless in my opinion.
All this whole split did is it's now going to force Marvel into finding a way to write out Spider-Man so this doesn't happen again.
Write out how, like, create a conclusion so that they can depart if needed, or
It's not a can. They're going to completely write them out after the second appearing, so they don't have to deal with the drop off like this. So their universe isn't affected by the whims and wills of Sony. Sony has actively slit their own wrists and basically took to him out of Marvel because of their nitpicky bullshit.
well, I see stupidity on both sides. I fault no one but all of the corporate heads, and that's where I stand opinion wise.
Both are at fault. Both need to take one for the team.
Yeah, we could go at length, but we're already almost a half hour into our recording, so we can move on if you guys are okay with that.
Your cat looks like he's enjoying himself.
Super loungy.
Okay.
All right, that brings us on to our next topic. Now that we're done with the MCU, let's kick things off with a little bit of TV streaming news. Now, this comes as no surprise that Apple, being one of the biggest companies in the world, would try to create other avenues for revenue, especially with the lowering sales of Apple devices in the last year. They're still at the top of their game. They just hit the $1 trillion valuation mark this year. They're now in the $1 trillion club. And, there were rumors back when Disney was going to buy up Fox that Apple might try to buy up Disney. And at the time, Disney was only worth $96 billion, and being a $1 trillion company, it would be no small feat, but it wouldn't be that hard to see them doing it because they're trying to get into the streaming race, and man, would that have been nuts. It also would have potentially kind of monopolized an aspect of our streaming world because it would be maybe initially possible to see Apple being so exclusive with everything they do. Me being an Apple owner, I'm fully aware of this, that we would only get Disney shit on iPhones. And I doubt that would come to be, because what we're about to learn here in these notes about the Apple streaming service is that they are going to be launching on every single platform because they can't afford not to. So Apple TV Plus is the name of the game, launching November 1st, a week before Disney Plus, and at the wonderfully affordable price of $5 a month. Now, this comes as to kind of no surprise anyone in the know that Apple does not have a huge backlog of anything when it comes to IPs that are exclusive in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you've got the iTunes library, but that's just a storefront. That's not like a streaming service that's trying to compete. So when you're trying to compete, a lot of streaming services are trying to implement original content so that they can survive when other companies switch licenses with IPs. Like this month, we're losing Friends. Netflix is losing Friends, and I think Friends is going to somewhere like HBO or something. Don't quote me on that. Is that right?
HBO.
Yeah. But we're getting Seinfeld next month on Netflix. That's things get swapped around every few months, and Netflix
Next
is
year.
yeah, well, Netflix's game plan for the last 5 years has been to create 80% of their entire library to be original content, and that's very evident when you see nonstop Netflix original series popping up every other week. So,
Great.
and a lot of them are really good. I love a lot of them. A lot of the ones we review are original series. So let's run out the bullet points, and then we'll discuss what we can expect from Apple TV Plus. It says that it will. And a little side note: Apple is offering a full 1-year subscription with any purchase of an Apple device. So if you're up for a new iPhone, they'll dump on you a full year subscription with that new iPhone. So, if you're an Apple user, cool. You can try it out. Yes, Matthew.
I'll be getting the iPhone 11.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna hold off because I just got the iPhone 10. So, tech talk later. But yeah, I'll probably wait. We'll talk more later as Nick tries to vacuum up the stuff that congealed out of his mouth.
Try not to throw up.
TV
People
Plus.
buying iPhones.
TV Plus is launching in over 100 countries with a slate, albeit small slate, of originals, which will be included. It's only $5 a month. The service will only be launching with about 9 titles, which are all original stuff, where Netflix has over 100 shows and thousands of episodes in there and movies. And Disney Plus is boasting 7,500 movies and TV episodes. Matthew, what's up? What you're laughing?
Just the fact that you said 5,000.
I said 5,800. I meant, if that's not what I said.
Yeah, you just said 5,000, not 58.
All right, Netflix has over 5,800 films and TV episodes. Disney Plus is boasting somewhere over 7,000 episodes and films. And I recently read an article where the Netherlands got a 2-month early access to try it out. And so the total 870 odd film titles were dropped of original content, which covers everything from Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and what did we talk about last time? It was Touchstone or one of those other movie production companies that Disney owned. So films from that library, and now Fox, 20th Century Fox, will also have, we'll have films from all of those as well. That's why there's over 800 movies, and that's not including TV shows. That's just movies. And a side note, any Simpsons fans are going to get access to all 30 episodes or seasons, all 30 seasons with over 600 episodes on day one of Disney Plus. So Apple's got a lot of uphill climbing to do over the next few years before they even come close, I would imagine. They've got the money to spend, and we can see that as we cover some of these shows. Guys, I've got some details.
The deets, give them to us.
Got the deets involving
These nuts.
The shows that have been announced. Oh, and when I was talking about money to throw around with Apple, I was like, if any of you guys have seen any of the trailers for any of these, you'll right off the bat see some decent quality in production, at least for this couple of these shows. The Jason Momoa one.
Oh, okay. There you go.
If there's another one you've seen, we'll talk about that in a minute. First one that was announced, I didn't realize. I thought this was just like a talk show at first, but then I realized it's called The Morning Show, and it's actually a scripted series starring Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and Steve Carell. Yep. The series.
I remember it now. You brought it up.
Yeah. I started talking about it. The series hails from Ellenberg's Media Res banner, with Aniston and Witherspoon both exec producing, along with director Mimi Letter and showrunner Carrie Aaron from Bates Motel, who replaced Jay Carson on the drama. The show marks Aniston and male lead Steve Carell's return to series TV following Friends, The Office, respectively. Billy Crudup, Mark Duplass, Nestor Carbonell, Karen Pittman, Bill Pulley, Gugu Bathara, and Deshaun Okay, Terry, Jack Davenport, and Janina Gavin Carr co-star. A list of I know some of those names in there. The show was picked up in November of 2017 with a 2-season, 20-episode order. The drama offers an inside look at the lives of the people who help America wake up in the morning. Brian Stelter's book, Top of the Morning, Inside the Cutthroat World of Morning TV, serves as a background for the series, which is based on an original concept by former HBO head of drama Michael Ellenberg. So I think there will be a lot of drama and comical moments. We've got a few comedy powerhouses in here, Steve Carell, not the least of which, in the lineup here. 20 episodes. I heard that this was actually shopped around before Apple bought it up, which is why it was in the running for being produced back in 2017. We're just now hearing about it. But also, Apple has been sourcing out projects in the last couple of years, trying to get some stuff ready for launching, and Apple wanted to stay in the dark as long as they could until they were ready to say, hey, we're dumping some new stuff on you guys for $5 a month. Yay. Any interest in the morning show, guys? Jennifer Aniston, Witherspoon, Carell.
I would like to check it out because I have a feeling since it's being marketed as a comedy drama, there will be something behind it. It's also rated TVMA.
Ooh,
Mhm.
this would be a little more adult. Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be. I'd like to see how it pans out.
This
Leave it.
the show reminds me of was it on HBO or Stars that did a similar drama called The Showroom? Do you guys remember who was on that one or who led it?
What's his name? Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
And it's a newsroom aspect.
The newsroom, yeah. Yeah, Jeff Daniels, Emily Mortimer, John Gallagher Jr., Allison Pill. But there was some very powerful writing in that series.
Yes, there was.
I liked it, and I'd be curious to see how similar the drama or adult side of it goes. Nick, there will be, and I'll throw this out there will be a web browser version of this service, meaning everyone with any device can have this service, and you do not need to be prescribed to Apple products. So, as we get further through this series, I'd be curious on your opinion if there's any interest in these other shows coming up here.
But I still have to pay $5 to Satan. I mean Apple.
To say what? No, no, I'm not. I'm sure one of the other three hosts could easily lend you a login.
Or if you didn't want to promote us buying into it, you could also sail the high seas. So
The awkward silence.
there's always a workaround. You just gotta know which back door you want to stick it in.
Oh my God! Yes. Well, now that we've covered that colorful imagery, thank you, Lynn. Guys, the next series up for bid in this outlying streaming service is a series called Dickinson. You child. What the hell, Lynn? Come on.
That was coming off.
Dickinson.
That was coming off the back.
Yeah, I know. I know. Anyway, Lynn, according to the synopsis from Apple, the 19th century set Dickinson will audaciously explore the constraints of society, gender, and family from the perspective of rebellious young poet Emily Dickinson, played by Steinfeld. Emily Steinfeld? Why did I get the full name in there? Jane Krakowski, Toby Huss, Anna Baryshnikov. I need to read these beforehand. Baryshnikov, Ella Hunt, Adrian Blake, Ensko round out the cast. What's up, Matt?
Did you say Anna Faris?
No, Steinfeld. It's
No. Like later down the thing.
no, Anna Baryshnikov.
Oh,
Anna
okay.
Baryshnikov, Ella Hunt, Adrian Blake, Ensko round out the cast. So anyway, this is kind of cool. They're doing a period piece here. It's gonna focus on Emily Dickinson, probably related, maybe pre-Charles or post. I'm not sure. It's 19th century.
I mean Charles Dickens. That's two different names.
Well, anyway, we're moving on. Anyone interested in this? God dang it. I've been corrected 2 episodes in a row now for little stupid. What did I say last episode, Matthew? And you're like, you corrected me on something. I shortened a word, and you said, "Do you mean this?" And I just ignored your correction and moved on.
I forget.
Okay.
But yes. I mean, with me getting the service for free, I'm pretty sure I'm kind of like try out at least some of these shows. This one, I might view the first episode just to get a taste of what it might be.
Right.
And if it's good enough, then I'll watch the rest of it. If not, then I'll let you know.
Yeah, I feel the same way for both these series so far. Yeah, the morning show, because I do love everyone involved on that. Dickinson, sure. And for me, it's one of the thing that they've also mentioned. Apple says that some of these shows will drop all at once, while others will be on a week-to-week release. And I think that's smarter for them to do, being such a new service. If you want to keep people subscribing, don't give them all 10 episodes and binge watch it in one day, keep them coming back each week.
Lynn looks like he's about ready to explode right now. What were you wanting to say?
Isn't there a updated version of the Apple TV also coming out as well?
Yeah, in other news, which I didn't put here, I read in an update with Apple that they are trying to, with these streaming services that they're introducing, they're trying to phase out the iTunes app and incorporate everything from their storefront into the Apple TV app, where TV Plus will be. So that way it's an all-in-one service. You stream your shows and buy some new shows if you want while you're here, kind of thing.
But I think there was an updated version of the box coming out as well. And if that does happen, that will probably be one that Robin and I invest in, because the Fire TV that we have is kind of getting outdated. And we enjoyed the Apple TV that we had, because we could, like my computer, we could stream off of my computer
Right.
from the files that were on it, and it
Right.
worked the same. And then we could also access all of Robin's music and movies that she had through her iTunes.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I have an Apple TV. Like, we have a Fire Stick too, but I have the Apple TV box for my ungodly number of personal movies on my
But
collection.
doesn't Apple TV not allow Netflix?
No, it has Netflix. It also has Amazon Prime. Dude, they have everything on there now.
I remember for a long time they weren't. They were having an argument with Netflix and they weren't allowing it to be on Apple TV.
Nope, I've had
No.
Apple TV for 6 years, and Netflix has always been available on it.
It was Amazon Prime.
It was Amazon Prime you were distinctly thinking of for sure. They were not allowing Amazon Prime at all, and I'm so happy it's on there now. Not that I care, because I have a Fire Stick, for crying out loud. And you can fact check me. I would put all my paychecks on it, dude, because I have had an Apple TV for 6 years, and I've always watched Netflix on it. So,
And I also have an Apple TV thanks to Joe.
yes, a donation, if you will, from an old model.
Yes. And
Donated an updated version of that one to you when I get this one.
But it was Amazon 100%, because Amazon was a new growing streaming competitor, and they had deals with not wanting them on there, but yada yada yada. This next series, guys, that I'm actually very interested in purely on the trailer, and the production value looks decent. It's called SEE, as in sight, being able to see. It stars Jason Momoa. The description here, it's an 8-episode epic world-building drama set 600 years in the future after a virus has decimated humankind and rendered the remaining population blind. When all humanity has lost the sense of sight, humans must adapt and find new ways to survive. It hails from Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight. I'm excited by that name alone. And Hunger Games director Francis Lawrence. Shernan and Endeavor Content produces the series. Alfre Woodard stars opposite of Momoa, and she's only credited. She's in the trailer. She's only credited on IMDb in being one episode of the 8, but she's done a lot of roles in the past. And if you guys, any of you Trekkie fans out there, might remember her, she was with Cochrane during the Star Trek: The Next Generation movie with the Borg. That was come on, Trekkies out there, I forget.
Star Trek
First
Generations.
Contact. First Contact.
First Contact.
Which came after Generations, which had Captain Kirk in it. But anyway, side notes here. First Contact, he went back in time, and Picard was talking with her, and she was the African American lady that was talking with Patrick Stewart, asking him why he's always so angry when he broke all his models. All the ship models, when he was frustrated about what was going on. Anyway, the trailer looked interesting. The thing that wasn't in the synopsis here, but what we see in the trailer is Momoa has a pair of twins that are born with the ability to see. They're the first humans to suddenly have sight back, with all the remaining adults having lived for unknown number of years being completely blind. There's some interesting things, maybe some tropey plot points here, and plenty of loopholes here when you think about it. Like, someone made a comment about, hey, if these people have been blind for so long, why do they look all clean and decorated, and why is their hair braided? Like, what are you braiding your hair for? Like Momoa's hairstyle, if you guys see the trailer, you know what I'm talking about, and clearly none of you have.
I have not, but I mean,
blind people jokes.
People would still be able to do that kind of stuff because
that's not quite but hold on, that's not the question. If they've gone 20 plus years and the entire planet, everyone on there is blind.
Right.
My reasoning is, what would be the point of decorating your hair and being clean? Wouldn't you just be a bunch of savages in the land?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's like a.
I was just posing an argumentative
Savages
question.
Still decorate their hair with beads. Let's be honest.
He's got a point there. But my point would be that they would still have the thought process to look good, even though nobody can see each other. Like it's built into them at some point.
I'll take it.
Passed down from generation to generation to generation, kind of a thing. Like,
you can feel it.
This is how you take care of yourself.
So I'm going to go on a pausing tangent for just a moment and ask Nick to just fill me in on this, because clearly this is like a recent posting. My argument was Netflix has always been available up until this point. You're now arguing, this is a recent development, which I was not aware of in the slightest.
Yeah.
Your original question was, I didn't think Netflix was ever available. Was kind of your perspective.
One of the things Apple was going to do with their thing is they were going to try to make a bundle that you can get the Apple TV, HBO, and one other thing, and they were trying to get Netflix in there. And Netflix and Apple are now fighting because Netflix is a streamer and Apple's a streamer, and they don't want to be bundled in with them. So they may be removing the rights for Apple to have Netflix on their devices.
Oh, well,
Guess
me
if we want
personally,
waters.
Well, it was a big thing because Apple was charging Netflix every single time someone downloaded the app from their app store.
charging the company because the app has always been free for users.
I know, but they were charging Netflix every single time someone downloaded the app.
Huh. Interesting. Well, one more shady reason for you to poke fun at Apple. Or hate Apple, I guess. I don't care. I really don't give two shits how much you hate Apple or Sony. And no, I'm not. This is not a rant. I'm not trying to rant here. I'm just saying, like, thank you for your information, sir. But me as an avid user that has had Netflix my whole life, I don't rely on it being on Apple devices. I could care less. I have a Fire Stick which has it, and I have the internet which has it. So, you know what? Worst case scenario, I go to a web browser on my phone.
Or you have it on your Xbox.
No way you have them there.
Because if you have Xbox One X, you can watch it in 4K. Sorry.
Thanks for that little plug there, Matthew. We're not sponsored by Microsoft.
Which, by the way, Microsoft, their new xCloud will not be on Apple devices. It's only on Android.
Well, now that we've shit on Apple enough, let's round out the rest of this topic and just move into week in review.
I'm not, hey,
like,
I have iPhone. I love iPhone.
I know.
I'm not going back to Samsung. I'm not going back to Android. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
dude, that's fine. I get it. Me neither. I'm not gonna suddenly throw my iPhone in the toilet because suddenly I've been proven how ignorant they are as a company. I'm gonna enjoy the device as long as I want to. But this is a whole nother topic if we want to debate corporate ignorance, because that's what all of this comes down to between Sony and Marvel and their bullshit, Apple and Netflix and Amazon and all their streaming bullshit. It's a thing that we could easily get heated over and talk in circles about. That's all fascinating facts that you guys have laid out for us and our listeners. And
I just think it's
appreciate that.
I just think that it's funny that it's Mac and
PC, like Microsoft. You mean
Microsoft? Yeah, Mac and Microsoft, basically saying ain't happening.
Well, great. You know what? I own a wide variety of devices where at least through one of these many varied things, I will find the services I need. So, hold on. Gone are the days. Gone are the days of the dream where we can have one system with everything on it. That was never going to happen, and now we see it in complete fruition. There will never be a harmonious conglomerate that owns everything. Thank God.
Obviously.
Because then we'd have a monopoly. And let's also I know, but let's throw this out there. This is also good news. Yes, do we have to have more devices now to make sure that we get everything? Sure. But what this helps everyone is it helps the fans. It helps the consumer, not on the consumer level because now we have to buy more devices, but it helps us on the consumer level of content quality because now we have multiple companies nipping off people's buds and saying, oh, well, we're going to separate. Now we have to compete. And by competition brings quality, and lack of quality means goodbye. So now everyone has to try harder to make better content.
Well,
yes, I agree with this.
You mean that thing that I said from the Fortnite PUBG episode a long ass time ago? Make your product better, and the customers will come.
Yes. You've always said that, Lynn, and I've never disagreed with that sentiment. I co-sign that shit every day. Every time you say it.
Now my question is, with the 2 Android users on our list here, are you guys going to do the xCloud thing? Because you could sign up right now and start playing your Xbox games on your phone.
Yeah, Androids get it before Apple. Woohoo!
Let me see how well that works on my Nevada there internets there, guy. I might have to go out that California way.
Well, internet's one thing. What about your cellular network?
I was
You
gonna
got
say,
anything
like
out
your
there
data.
that's good?
No.
No
No.
5G? No,
So-
no
I am,
5Gs?
I am in BFE, and I'm lucky to get like 2 or 3 bars at my house.
So you're back to G1.
Basically, he's like 56K modem.
56K dial up on the phone. But that's still more advanced because he doesn't have to plug in for it.
Right.
Which might make it worse than 56K. I don't know. Anyway, Nick, as you ponder our momentous round circle opinions and thoughts, you're very quiet. Did I
I'm a quiet person.
Well, I know, but did I shut you down a little bit and not like we've got to clarify this, Nick. Anytime we argue, when I say shut you down, I don't mean I outdid you and you felt sheepish and unworthy to keep talking. But did I shut down to a point where you're like, well, there's no point in sharing because Joe's oblivious to any other options? Is that the no? Okay, fair enough. I'd mentioned For All Mankind, which is a sci-fi series running 10 episodes, but that's all we know about it. And The Elephant Queen is a documentary being narrated by Chiwetel. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. He was from 12 Years a Slave. He plays Mordo in Doctor Strange and Ridley Scott's The Martian. So really cool actor. Can't pronounce his last name. Not going to even try. He's going to narrate this wonderful little documentary about elephants.
I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh, yeah. Is there another elephant we need to discuss? Because I'm pretty sure we swept everything else under the rug. I think this would be a good spot
No,
to. What?
I'm guessing that's more or less a pun that he's like.
I mean, I would say 50%. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least 50% of the things that come out of Lynn's mouth are puns.
If not more.
I'm giving you credit here, or am I giving you lack of credit? Is it like more like 80, 90%?
I don't know. You tell me.
I was trying to, my dude. I was trying to be modest. I was trying to say you bullshit half the time, but I wasn't claiming that you have nothing to offer the podcast.
Nah, it's more like bullshit 80% of the time.
Oh,
You gotta fake it till you break it, man. Come on.
There you go.
I thought there was a make it thing in there somewhere, but no.
No,
Oh, yeah. Fake it
no,
till you
there's
break
just-
it. No, fake it till you break it.
there's just fake.
Or fake it till you make it.
I mean, that's the original one, but to each his own. Nicholas, your energy level looks a little nigh.
Oh, I'm fine.
Again,
Like
are you
99X.
having internal problems because you're just extra quiet?
He might have internal problems.
Did you not like that? I did like. I'm just wondering. I want to get everything out on the table. You just don't seem excited right now about the rest of this cast. We're leaving the Apple topic behind. We're completely gone. We're not going back to it. And I swear to God, I will never bring up Apple again unless it affects the rest of the industry.
For the record, I would like it to go that this was Joe's fault.
I take full credit for that. I wrote the notes.
I'm joking.
I also have absolutely
80% bullshit.
I also have no shame in saying that I've recorded our podcast for almost 3 years on a Mac. I've got no shame in saying that. I had to get one giggle out of you, didn't I?
And only recently has it been not wanting to finish recordings. Only recently. I'm not okay.
To be fair, that is that's a third-party app, and that's the company that made the app's problem, because nothing else on my computer has a problem. And it's a 6-year-old Mac that I've never deep cleaned. I've never put antivirus protection on it, and everything else on it is fine, minus this stupid app whose name shall remain off the record.
I too like going in without a condom.
On that family-friendly note, let's move on into this week in review. Welcome to This Week in Review, nerds. We are going to get down and dirty and cover a handful of shows because it's been a minute since we've reviewed too many things in recent memory. We've done a lot of news coverage the last couple weeks. So on the heels of that note, I'm going to kick things off with, it came out a few weeks back, but Netflix original series, 13 Reasons Why. They dropped season 3. And guys, just as a disclaimer before we get into this, I think we would be negligent not to at least state the obvious. We'll post a crisis hotline kind of thing in the notes. But for the sake of just being thorough, guys, you can go to Suicide Prevention Online .org, Lifeline, sorry, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. We'll post a link down below because this is one of the few shows on Netflix that, I mean, Netflix does a lot of serious topic shows, but this is one that got really sensitive, controversial things during its first season run, being heavily focused on suicide. But the show continues, even though now deviating from that main topic, the show continues pushing boundaries on dramatizing teenagers in high school dealing with real serious issues. So I'll throw down the synopsis for season 3, and we'll just kind of give you guys a couple bullet points on what this season covered. And me and Nick and Matt will just kind of share a brief opinion on how we feel about this season versus the previous ones. So to kick things off, the synopsis reads that in the 3rd season, the Netflix drama welcomed viewers back to the world of Liberty High School about 8 months after Clay Jensen, played by Dylan Minnette, or maybe Dylan Minnette, I might be saying that wrong again, succeeded in stopping Tyler, acted by a Devin Druid, from bringing a gun to the Spring Fling dance. Thanks for the reenactment, Nick. If you guys want to see that reenactment, go to youtube.com/c/Nerdentials. The students came together to help Tyler in his recovery. And that's kind of the focus for season 3. Matthew, your hand is raised. Good sir, what?
Say that 5 times fast. Sorry.
Matthew, your hand is raised?
I won't say that 5 times fast. And yeah, Matthew's pretty polite in this whole Skype call. Anytime he wants to talk, he just raises his hand, waiting for me to shut up. So, no, props to you, sir. So yeah, basically at the end of season 2, the controversy of season 2, aside from a retread of the trial of Hannah Baker and the suicide of season 1, season 2 kind of tapered through that and kind of ended with poor Tyler, who had been brutally assaulted by the high school football brutes, specifically
Monty.
Yeah, by Monty. Turned him to nearly crack and got him to actually bring a gun to school. And at the end of season 2, I was like, oh, they're actually going there. Because like this show keeps going in really crazy, controversial areas. And school shootings was one. I was like, oh, there's no way they're going to go there. And it ends with Clay talking him down. And they escape. Tony drives Tyler off in his car, and they take off, and that's the end of that season, leaving Clay waiting there with police on the way, and we didn't know what was going to happen to him.
And human popsicles.
Yes.
Wait,
now, season 3 jumps back in about this. Says about 8 months after those events, so a lot of other things have happened, and very quickly, it's in the trailer. It was a huge promotional piece of what we were going to expect for the topic of season 3, with the murder mystery title of Who Killed brain fart, help me out, Nick.
Bryce.
Bryce Walker.
Yeah, Who killed Bryce Walker? And it was all in the promotional material and the trailer. So right away, that wasn't a surprise. We're now going. Yeah, Nick.
Colonel Mustard in the library with a candlestick.
Totally what I was thinking, man.
Mr. Green in the library with the wrench.
This show, this season, guys. I was very curious of what direction they'd go in because they kind of tapered at the end of season 2 with a possible school shooting, and then we kind of quickly left that with now a new mystery that kind of drives this whole season. And it's
I'd
kind
say
of
so.
it's done very for me. I think they did a really good job of stringing you along all 13 episodes for this season, where the majority of this is being narrated by a new character, Ani, who we find out befriended Clay Jensen for the majority of this season. And she seems to be in a kind of a black and white screen in an interrogation room, and she's literally narrating pretty much the entire season. In between the narrations, we're getting back and forth cuts between current events and flashbacks of what led to some of those events. And the cool thing I thought, Nick and Matt, about what they did to distinguish those two, like my wife Amy was watching it with me, and she kept getting confused about, wait, is this a flashback now? And I told her, pay attention, because the big key in what they did for really easily distinguishing this is a little thing that cinematographers like to use called a filter.
Uh-huh.
There was a very gray tone, heavy weighted feeling filter where everything kind of just had gray tones in the present day. And then all the flashbacks were vibrant and colorful, like, oh, nothing bad I mean, plenty of bad things have happened throughout the show, but they're in a happier place leading up to this tragedy of who killed Bryce.
No,
So, Nick, go ahead.
I'd say one of the cool things that they did this season, they follow a very cool formula. First season, every episode kind of centers around one of the tapes of the people that offended her. Second season, every episode follows pretty much around a certain person, their day in court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This season, every episode follows along each character that could have possibly killed Bryce.
Yeah, and the show did for me a fairly good job of giving every one of these main characters really heavy motivational reasons, and you almost come to a point towards the end of the season where you feel like, wow, any one of them legitimately could have done it leading up to this. And me and Matt had a little bit of a wager on how it would end. We won't go into the details of that wager, but I got close. I guessed how it would have happened, but unlike my winning luck at Clue, I could not peg the person or the item used. Nick, how Matt figured it out kind of halfway through, I think, or pretty early on. Where do you feel you got to before the end? Were you surprised by the end, or did you guess?
Towards the end of season 2, I started feeling that this was going to happen and a certain person was going to do it. And
But don't spoil it.
I know.
But
And
you're right.
and
How close were you?
and by season 3 they confirmed it. By episode 3 they confirmed it.
Huh. No, you're right. I mean, I hate talking in secretive circles, so we won't spend too much time doing that. We'll move on. But the character we're referring to that ends up being the culprit, definitely, I saw reasons, but man, they kept it so buried throughout season 3. They did a really good job of keeping that out of the loop. Until towards the end. So what I'm going to say is this season definitely didn't shy away from a multitude of heavy topics. Tony and his family getting deported. We dealt with immigration in this season. We dealt with a crazy amount of betrayal. We dealt with a redemption story that my wife and I believe all of us agreed we hated Bryce's guts throughout season 1 and 2. And I hate saying this, I still don't like the character, but they actually wrote out a redemption for him in a way where you you don't agree, you still hate his guts, but you actually, it caused me personally to actually feel bad for where he was going before he was killed. I think I can say that without ruining too much of the rest of the season. And they even gave a redemption story for another scumbag, but I want to leave that alone. It's a tragic ending for a second character, which we didn't. I don't even think any of us actually saw coming, aside from the main topic of Bryce's murder. And I kind of want to leave that alone. That's kind of a reveal that's at the very end. I want to leave that alone too, guys. Um, Overall feelings compared to the previous seasons, how did you guys feel about season 3 as a series? Aside from the topics it dealt with, how did you feel about it as a show? That, as far as intriguing you to watch it or not?
I personally, I think this season was actually done a lot better than the last season in the aspect of how the show flowed and where how everything that they like in season 2 you could see like where things were like leading up to. In
I think
this
season
one,
2, Matthew, you agree with this statement? I think season 2 was the producers of the show being told, hey, the season 1's a hit, we need you to keep rolling with the idea, and they tried to find their ground, and they kind of rehashed the concepts by bringing Hannah Baker back through all of it as a psychological ghost in Clay Jensen's head, you know?
yeah,
A little bit of
I
that, yeah.
it was more or less like they wanted to go in a direction with season 2, but they couldn't. Like they just, I don't know. It just seemed too predictable in a sense. I mean, a lot of the topics in there were pretty good to be discussed, but at the same time, like you could see from like where episode 1 started to where the season ended, you could see pretty much how everything was going to pan out. With this season, it actually took you a little bit longer to figure out like where things were leading. You knew the end result prior, but you didn't know everything that was happening up until that point. Like it was very well kept under wraps, at least for me. Like I love mysteries. I love like
Yeah,
the
and
who done it kind of thing.
and like you, Matt, I love feeding into the mystery and not trying too hard to figure it out. I like just being pulled through it, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of reasons that's why I I'm kind of happy to remain clueless until the end, you know, for me.
Yeah. And with this season, like I was guessing a lot of different people going through this until like a key episode. I'm not going to get into details, but it kind of was like, okay, I can now see where this is going, kind of a thing. But and it took me more time to figure that part out than anything else from previous things. Even though like season 1 was like not even something you had to like predict, like you just
That was
it was just more
just a
character
character
building
drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just my take on it. I really enjoyed it.
1 to 5, what do you give this, Matthew?
Straight 5. Like they couldn't have done better in my opinion.
Yeah, for at least the context of the show and what it has become up to this point. Which, on a quick side note, I'll pass it off to Nick in a second to conclude his rating. But we did get confirmation by Netflix that season 4 will be their final wrap-up season, and I won't say anymore. I'll just pass off Nick's concluding thoughts on this season. What do you think, Nick?
It was great. Even though I figured it out early, they did a really good try at giving you credible reasons to think that other people did it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they played out each episode doing that, you quite literally could have walked away from each episode saying, hey, they could have done that. It could have been them, or it could have been them. But it was, like I said before, when I watched the show and I told you guys my feelings on it before, this makes you hate humans in general and realize how awful people can be, and realize that best way I could put it is everyone has a dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone will do messed up, horrible, awful things if given the chance. Not because they're horrible people, but because people make mistakes.
Or if found in the right, or in a lot of cases for this series, the wrong situations.
Yeah.
Definitely. 1 to 5, Nick?
Oh, it's a 5, hands down.
Okay, and I didn't give mine, but compared to all previous seasons and as a singular piece, like if we just came in on this season, I think there's enough backstory in the beginning that you could just drop into this season. They give you a decent recap of where the characters are at and the way it leads through. You could watch this season as a standalone story, I believe. And for that reason, I give it a 5 as well. So for all you nerds out there, that made season 3 a nerdtastic experience. And again, a link for the hotline is down below, and there I'll post the 13reasonswhy.com link as well for anyone.
Yeah, they did a TV Guide did an interview by the actor who plays as Bryce Walker, Justin Prentice. And even the actors playing in the show were completely blown away by the redemption arc they decided to go on this. I have a part where he was saying what he thought about it. If it's okay to read it.
Yeah, go for it, dude.
There's no redeeming what Bryce has done. He has done atrocious things. I think he's certainly trying to make amends in his own way for the actions that he has done, the actor told TV Guide. I think it's an interesting arc for him in that we get to see him struggle with empathy, what it means to actually take other people's feelings into account. He's always sort of been the alpha jock who can do whatever he wants without consequences. This is the first time he actually really had to go, oh, I've done some irreparable damage to people. He sort of struggles with how to go about doing that. He's learning to be emotional for the first time. It by no means rights the wrongs that he has done, but in his own way, he is trying.
Yeah, and his own character in the show even conveys that notion in his last words before the end of the show. And so they did a good job at conveying that and showcasing that, even, which is why it sucks to say that we actually can feel a little bad for him because he's trying to change, but they still make that statement. Yeah. Anyway, really good show, but again, it's not for everyone. I just want to reiterate that to our listeners out there. We all know people that have gone through really traumatic things, and if you've gone through something traumatic, this may not be a show that you will enjoy or even want to watch. It is good for those that can handle it to maybe understand others who are going through it, and so maybe for us, it might be helpful for us to have an idea of maybe how to talk to someone that needs help, and or we can see signs of people that need help. And so for that, that's why we're posting the crisis hotlines in the links below. If you guys are fans or listen to our show on the regular, just so that you guys know that there are people and places to talk to if you need it. So I like to take this moment and move on to something a little more lighthearted in our notes. Our next review will be coming straight from Nick, as I don't think any of us have had a chance to watch the wonderful Netflix original series Disenchantment. I just want to give the rundown, Nick, and then I want to get all your thoughts on it. So it's a 10-episode series. Season 1 was the same. Season 2 average runtime is on the short end, 22 minutes to as long as 30 minutes. It's a half-hour comedy in the style of like The Simpsons as far as the animation goes. It's set in a fantasy world. And in this season, so guys, here's the synopsis, the general synopsis for the series, because what's different from The Simpsons is, unlike it being a serialized episodic thing where every episode's a different topic, this has an ongoing through line. So the beginning of this is Princess Tirabini, nickname Bean, is about to be married to Prince Merkimer. It is an arranged marriage, and Bean isn't too happy about it. She is fun-loving and free-spirited, and marriage is the last thing she wants to preoccupy herself with. Then she meets Lucy, a demon, and Elfo, an elf, a little on the nose there, and things get rather exciting and dangerous. Now, me and Nick reviewed season 1 last time around, and we both thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely a character-driven series. Nick, I'm going to let you explain to me the overall premise for season 2 and where things are going, and you could tell me your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Well, by the way, Elfo is a half elf. He's mixed with something else. They've never actually quite gotten into that. That's why he looks weird. But that's besides the point. I love this series. Matt Groening has done multiple animated series. People most know his artwork from The Simpsons and Futurama. And he had been waiting to get into something and got into this. And it's definitely different than anything he's done. But he's done it very well. It kind of holds over the same humor as both those types of shows. Some of the same types of jokes pull over, but they work because they've always been that way. Yeah, so it continues, and like you said, this is an episodic. It's not like the other ones where it's completely desegmentized. This has a storyline that goes throughout the whole thing. At the end of the first season, you are Beanie's mother gets unfrozen from the statue, and then you get introduced to her. This whole season is all about the repercussions of everything that happened. So I'm not going to go in and spoil everything that happened this season, but you start running into more story arc. Like I said, the repercussions of everything. Them trying to fix the kingdom, different places they go. The first season was all revolving around Dreamland. In this season, they actually go to other far-off places. You get to see different types of people, different things, different ideals and everything. And it's for the first time in Matt Groening shows, this has character growth. It's actually completely character driven by each person in there. The main three characters, as you know, are Beanie, who is the princess, and then you have Elfo, which is a half elf best friend of Beanie, who is not so secretly completely infatuated in love with Beanie. And then the other one, who is quite literally the devil's advocate. He's Lucy. He's a demon that looks like a little cat, but he's supposed to be there to try to tempt everyone into becoming pure evil. But as shown through first and second season, he is always kind of self-sacrificingly trying to keep them out of trouble. Yes.
So what you're saying is that Lucy Fur?
His name's Lucy.
But he's a ball of fur.
That's right, Lucy with an I. And nothing else.
But he's a ball of fur. Lucy Fur. Sorry. Pun. Never mind.
I see what you did there.
Well, and being on Netflix, which is completely commercial free, and everything. It's able to do something Futurama and The Simpsons couldn't do. They actually have the runtime of the whole show, each episode, 30 minutes instead of the 22-minute network TV length. So there's a lot more time for them to put stuff in there. And sometimes there's a lot more time for them to try to figure out how to fill space, and they do it kind of awkwardly, but it still works. But no, it was a great show. And I actually liked where they went with it. I can't wait till next season because they left on another cliffhanger. There was definitely some references to some of his other shows, and I think it was definitely on purpose. If you guys didn't know, Bean's father is King Zog and is played by John DiMaggio, who is the voice. Yeah, he's the voice of Bender from Futurama. And a lot of people don't know, he's also the voice of Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War. And if you didn't know, also, both Lynn and Joe are doing playthroughs on the Gears of War videos. Please watch those. Shameful plug.
Shout out to us.
Yeah.
Shameful plug.
Yeah. He's got a very defined voice. And I'm just gonna kind of spoil one line, which was hilarious to see, and I about hit the floor when he said it. There's actually a scene where King Zog jumps out with his axe and swings, and as he says it, he yells out, "Bite my shiny metal axe."
That's fantastic.
That is classy.
Did he pull a beer out of the door belly pocket as he
I was gonna say, is it Bender?
No. Well, that's the voice of Bender.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And they made a big point. It wasn't all comedy. If you actually look at the show, there's realizations of, Beanie thinking she's a horrible person. The King Zog's loneliness, because if you know from the first season, his lizard queen leaves him, and in the first season, his first queen tries to kill him and everyone in his kingdom.
We're gonna cancel this one right here, my guy.
What?
We're gonna have to cancel this one right here, my guy. We can't
What?
have a show getting self-aware.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it's doing. The people are getting self-aware inside the show, and they realize their faults, and it's weird, but it's great how they do it. And like I said, it's refreshing to see an animated series be that heartfelt and show that much character growth. So, but I would give it a 5.
Solid 5, huh?
It's one of the better animated series I've seen in a long time.
Nice. Nicely done. Guys, this next series I checked out is a little more on the serious side. It's not that. I mean, it's serious. It's another. Would you believe it? 3 series in a row, all from Netflix. It's another Netflix original limited series, which means it will have its end with this one season. It's an 8-episode run, roughly 43 minutes to 58 minutes average runtime on the episodes. The show is called Unbelievable. Now, Unbelievable stars Caitlin Dever, who plays the lead actress. It's got Toni Collette, who plays as one of the detectives, Detective Grace, and Merritt Weaver, co-starring as another detective from a separate precinct in the L.A. area, somewhere. Somewhere in those whereabouts. The show is based on the true story of Marie, a teenager who was charged with lying about having been raped, and the 2 female detectives who followed the path to the truth. Now, me and my wife started watching this on a whim. It came up on the Netflix, advertised recent releases, and so we gave it a shot. We have made it 5 episodes into the 8-episode run, and I will say this. The majority of the season up to this point is filled with intrigue and interest because what the show starts doing is in episode 1, what basically happens is the girl, Marie, is raped by a mysterious guy who is in a mask. It's a very specific thing that he does. She's asleep at night. He breaks in, ties her up, takes pictures of her, and threatens to post them online if she screams or says anything. And I will say this up front that at least in episode 1, the rest of the season is not too hard to watch, but episode 1, if you're, I mean, anyone with moral standing and decency should probably be uncomfortable with some of the scenes. It's a little hard to watch episode 1 because in the first half of the season, they do repeatedly show her flashing back to the moments where it's from her perspective, like a first person perspective, where it's blurry, half her eyes covered, and she's looking back at her attacker, and that's what's happening. And it's hard, but at the same time, the direction of the show does a good job of really making us feel uncomfortable because, I mean, is not a good thing. It's a very horrible act to commit upon someone. And in this situation, the continual flashbacks, I mean, it happens quite a few times where you keep seeing that same scene replayed. It's brief, but it's enough that it might make people who are pretty sensitive shy away from watching the show. I would say if you can get past episode 1, the show turns into a procedural where we follow these two detectives who are going at great lengths to figure out who her attacker was. And throughout the journey, they discover 2 other victims who identical accounts, like the same way, the same method, the same demeanor, the same threats, but each time each victim is threatened a little more, and the last victim up to this point in the season was actually threatened at gunpoint, but everything else lines up. So they start assessing that it's a serial rapist and that this guy is going to attack next and probably sooner. Like the windows between each victim are narrowing to where it's happening more often. The show does a good job at just kind of keeping you wondering, man, when are we going to figure out who did this kind of thing. I'm gonna finish it up because me and my wife are stuck on it. I wouldn't say it's one of those shows that's, oh man, it's so addicting. It's just one of those things that it's an intriguing drama and a mystery, and you want to kind of see justice for all of these victims, and you want to see this guy taken down. So I can't say much more about it. I haven't finished it yet, but of the 5 episodes I'd watched, I'm gonna say it's a 4.5 out of 5 right now. Just because there are some slow spots and I haven't finished it yet. So as a series as a whole, I don't want to give it that 5 until I've wrapped it up and see how they choose to end it. Because it is a limited series, so it's not for everyone. I'm just definitely not something I'm going to outwardly recommend freely. Like, oh, if you like dramas, go check it out. So it's not something I'm doing. I'm not recommending it to anyone. But if crime dramas is something that intrigues you, I would say give it a shot.
It's
So
not twisting your leg, but definitely saying go check it out.
yes, Lynn, thank you for that. That's going to wrap up that. Got a couple more things. I want to throw this out here before we get to before we get to this very next one, Nick. As you see in the notes, I want to drop down to the last one real quick that I got written here. It's something you've completely finished, the 2 seasons that are there, and I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it. I don't think we've reviewed The Tick from Amazon Prime Originals. I'd seen that it came out. and I was a huge fan of the previous take on it in the 90s by huh?
The cartoon?
Nope, never seen the cartoon, never read the comic books. I remember some of the cartoons. I only caught a little bit of it when I was younger, but I'm referring to the 7-8 episode run with Warburton. Is it Michael?
Oh, is it
Guy.
Mike Timothy?
No, man. Now I gotta look it up. I should have written it down as a reference.
Actor that played as
Patrick
Yeah.
Warburton.
Roger.
Patrick Warburton donned the original Tick costume in the live-action series that only ran
I think it was
9 episodes. One episode, I believe, didn't air, and I remember it saying that on the DVD case that I bought back in the day. Yes, this was back when DVDs were a thing. And I thought he did an incredible job, just his demeanor, the way he talks. And so when I heard Amazon Prime doing a new take on it, I wasn't super excited to check it out. Peter Serafinowicz, who they cast to play the Tick, I didn't know any of his work prior to this. I looked into it. He's done a lot of things. But I never really heard him acting, and I saw the trailer, and it just didn't strike me. I'm like, hashtag this ain't my Tick. But but then one of my buddies had actually watched it and was raving about it, and I told him about the original one. He had no idea there was a previous one that had been done, and I said, yeah, it's really over the top and silly, and I loved it. And he explained a few things, and I was like, all right. And recently checking out other shows on Amazon Prime, I'm like, oh, it's a 24, 29 minute series. I'll go ahead and drop a few episodes and see how it goes. Episode 1 I knocked out in one sitting, and I'm like, I actually really like him. I really like his portrayal. I'm actually almost, I dare say, a bigger fan than Patrick Warburton's version, but I have original nostalgic reasons that I love his original take. I'll just run quickly over the cast here. In addition to Peter as the Tick, we got Griffin Newman as Arthur, Valerie Curry as his sister Dot, Yara Martinez plays Ms. Lint, one of the villains. Scott Spacer plays Overkill, and his cohort, Danger Boat, is voiced by none other than Alan Tudyk. Filled with all the sarcasm and love that you would expect from his AI robotic impersonations that he's done over the years.
our very own Mr. Nobody.
Yes. Briefly, just the description for this series, anyone that's not familiar with the Tick, it's in a world where superheroes have been real for decades. An accountant with no superpowers comes to realize his city is owned by a supervillain. As he struggles to uncover this conspiracy, he falls in league with a strange blue superhero. And they've got kind of like a Superman figure that's kind of been around, Superio, I think, what's it called? And the main supervillain from Arthur's past was the Terror, which they brought back as a classic villain from previous Tick iterations. I have finished all 12 episodes of season 1. Absolutely freaking loved it. I give that a solid 5 out of 5. And just throw this out there, I already am a couple episodes into season 2, still enjoying it thoroughly. They've gotten a little more serious. There's some heartwarming elements to it, aside from the comedy and some of like the absurdity of some of the characters. And I am just absolutely beside myself that Amazon has canceled the show. And currently, as of right now, it has not found a home anywhere else, and that deeply saddens me. Nicholas, your thoughts on the series, being that you wrapped up both seasons? And do you share my sentiments? I don't know how season 2 ended, so don't spoil that, obviously, but
with certain things. I'm not going to say what, but once you get to it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's how the Tick has always been, no matter in this iteration or not. I would have to disagree. I liked Warburton's Tick better. The new Tick is not bad. It's just I like Warburton's style more for the Tick. He seems more ostentatious.
Sure, okay, but I would just, to add briefly, I would say that Serafinowicz's version does a lot of redoing it, kind of like he kind of re-emulates Patrick Warburton's version to some degree, and yeah, I do understand there's a little more pullback from that more outrageous, boisterous version, but he's got the voice for it. I gotta throw that out there. When he gets into his narrations about truth and justice, and and he still paints the same. Like, the one thing the Tick does is he narrates out loud to himself often throughout the show, and the previous versions did that too. And they do a really good job of him painting constant analogies using his very creative and humorous wording. Sorry, Nick, continue with how you felt about.
Oh, it's fine.
Where it ended, I guess, or.
Season 2 wasn't bad. I watched it because I like the superhero genre.
But not because you were hooked in Tick. It's fine if that's how you felt.
It gave me a chuckle. Yeah. I wouldn't say I wasn't hooked. I wouldn't say I was. It was one of those ones that I could lay there and leisurely watch while my kids are being a nuisance.
Easily list to the left.
No, it's sometimes I watch shows just to pass time, and this was one that was good for that.
Bummer. So what's the rating? It's definitely not a 5. It can't be.
And you're right. It is unfortunate that they didn't get picked up by anyone else. I would have surely thought someone would have because of the superhero hype going on, but no network, no other entity picked this up, and so it's definitely dead in the water, like the first series did, which
didn't even make it one season.
Yeah.
Give it time. Wait for Freakazoid's return.
No, but no, I would definitely.
That would be amazing. Sorry.
I'm leaning towards the lower side, but the most I can give it is a 3.
That's fine. It's to clarify our numbers a little bit because we still need to finalize that. But you're saying worth checking out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a look. Because of my tendencies and what I like in shows is probably one of the reasons why it didn't stick as heavy in my heart as it did yours. But I would definitely say it's worth a watch, and someone might get more out of it than I did, like you did.
Fair enough. I fell in love with it for slightly different reasons. Like, Patrick Warburton is like the number one thing that sold me on that original run. This one, a little bit, it's still cheesy, but a little bit of the drama and kind of the heartwarming moments, aside from the comical beats, drew me in more with this one, and I guess that's probably the difference between the two series for me. But I will give this one a solid 4. As much as I'm gushing about it, I'd give it a 4 because it didn't outdo the old love per se, but there were a lot of elements I loved about it.
Well, I can honestly say the reason why I liked Warburton more is I grew up watching the Tick cartoons.
Mm.
And so he embodied the cartoon.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I understand.
That and it's Patrick Warburton.
I love him. Mm-hmm.
His aneurysms as an actor, like
aneurysms.
Mannerisms.
No, How come it sounds different when you say it?
Oh my god.
Oh, this is gonna be a hard.
aneurysms.
My
Lynn,
brain was not working right there. Oh my god.
Lynn, this is gonna be a hard lick. This will either be an end credit scene or this might be the cold open because that was beautiful. I might have to take both. Lynn's
I can't
little
even.
take earlier, and then yours
I'm
now.
just gonna keep my mouth shut from
Please
now on.
continue, Matt.
No,
we did not
nope.
mean
go
to,
back.
to shame you.
He likes his mannerisms. Continue. It's okay.
Yeah, just his voice and his sarcastic nature, like I watched the Tick series back when he was the Tick, and I watched the cartoon, and his persona, I think, is the Tick. Like, he was super sarcastic, and if you even go back into the comics that were written, the Tick is just super naturally sarcastic all the time.
Yeah.
And just hearing I can hear his voice right now saying something stupid that the Tick would say.
The great, the blue yonder.
Yes. I don't know. I didn't even know the Tick was a thing on Amazon, so like that's my bad. Like,
Well,
I haven't checked out like a lot of stuff on Hulu too, so.
Well, take Nick's 3 and check it out, and take my 4 and open your heart to the possibility of a new love. 24 episodes on Amazon Prime.
I would give it a 4 based on I'm a sucker for nostalgic things.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I'd probably give it probably a strong 3, 4. I haven't even seen it.
Well, all right. Future-proofing your reviews.
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
I'll make
You
myself
just send a
watch it
YouTube
now.
link?
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right, guys, our final review for today's episode, we are covering another Amazon Prime original series entitled Carnival Row. It's its first season original run here. It's an 8-episode series, averaging on the short end 50 minutes to on the long end, with the finale being an hour and 7 minutes long. A lot of the episodes range 50 minutes to an hour. And I'm just gonna read the synopsis, which should cover the majority of what we're gonna talk about. So, Orlando Bloom and Cara Delevingne star in Carnival Row, a Victorian fantasy world filled with mythological immigrant creatures whose rich homelands were invaded by the empires of man. This growing immigrant population struggles to coexist with humans in the grimiest section of the city, forbidden to live, love, or fly with freedom. But even in darkness, hope lives as a human detective, Roycroft Philostrate, and a refugee fairy named Vignette Stonemoss rekindle a dangerous affair despite an increasingly intolerant society. Vignette harbors a secret that endangers Philo's standing during his most important case yet, a string of gruesome murders threatening the uneasy peace of the Row. As Philo investigates, he reveals a monster no one could imagine. Was that theatrical enough? Did I read that okay? Anyway, so yes, Lynn.
I said I can dig it.
Nice. So I have myself only made it through 4 episodes, so I'll give off my thoughts of how things are going, and I know you finished it, Nick, so you'll be able to keep things more spoiler free than I will, because I don't have the option. So this is a incredibly detailed fantasy world that, truthfully, Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong in this assumption, but I had assumed this had to have been based off a book or novel series, but I couldn't discover anything, and this seems to be a completely original creation. Now, I did read a little backstory that who was the original creator or writer for it? The writer creator originally wrote this series as a single standalone film, and it never got picked up, so he shelved it for several years. And then he got the opportunity, but and the crazy thing is he said in an interview he wrote so much backstory for it as just being a movie that it should have been a series back when he first started writing it. And then he revisited it after being given an opportunity to do so and went ahead and fleshed it out. And you can tell that this is a like fully realized world, and it's crazy to think that this could have just been a standalone movie. Are you pulling up anything, Nick? Are you finding
Yeah,
anything?
it was originally wrten by the Pacific Rim scriptwriter Travis Beacham when he was still
Yes.
in school in North Carolina 17 years ago. He
Yeah.
drew everything into it from Celtic mythology to Jack the Ripper. So
Yeah, nice. Thanks for that. Yeah, guys. So, so this guy created it's kind of like a modern day Tolkien almost, with just the way they talk, like in the scripts and the words, dude. It sounds like they legitimately come from this time period, like this fantasy based setting, and it's almost like kind of old English in a sense. It's very much like from another land. But I will say this though, production value massive. Amazon definitely dumped a good amount of money on it. You guys have got horned people walking around with horns. You've got the Fae, which are a more of a simplified derogatory term to essential. What's what they call the Fae is a generalized term to anyone that's mystical in this world. But the ones that we familiarize ourselves with are the four-winged fairies that Cara Delevingne plays as one of those characters. Um, and Orlando Bloom, I feel in his current age, with the full facial hair and scruff and being a little older than he was back in his elvish days of Middle Earth, I absolutely think he was born to play this role with how he carries himself today and with his age currently. I think it's just really cool. And so what ultimately hooked me wasn't just the fantasy world. By about the second or third episode, you start seeing how him and Delevingne are connected as characters, and you start seeing how their relationship came together to this point. And just I'm immediately gripped by Orlando Bloom's performance, and I think Delevingne accents his performance quite well. Only 4 episodes in, and I'm really excited to see this creature in the deep, this mystery that's going on. And I've seen screenshots. I'm like, there's some revealing. I want to wait and see it unfold. I know that we're gonna see some things at some point, but yeah. So the Fae start getting murdered off in episode 1. There's a Fae that just instantly gets ripped apart with her guts spilled out, and they're like, who could have done this kind of thing? And that's kind of where it kicks off. And there's a lot of backstory in episode 2. We go to a super far flashback where our two leads met each other for the first time. There's a lot of backstory to this, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. I'm giving this just 4 episodes, 5 out of 5, highest of Nerdtastics for me. I'm gonna pass it off, Nick, and you unfurl your thoughts.
For only being 8 episodes, Amazon and the creative team behind this did a really good job of world building. And it's something that you like to see in something like this, because there's so much lore they're trying to cover in such a small amount of time, and every episode they cover a big chunk of it, which is awesome. You were saying the Fae. So in this series, you see a lot of what are called pucks, which are technically the satyrs. And you see the pixies, which are like the fairy people, the fae people. And you see other races too, but those are the ones that you see mostly. and you see their plight of everything going on here. This whole series had a very pre-revolutionary New York feel, because all these what they call critches. The critches are
That's a derogatory term, right?
Yeah, it's the derogatory term for all the fey creatures, the people, the creatures.
The non-humans,
yeah.
anyone that's not a human it's definitely an immigrant story the way this starts.
Yeah, and most of them are put into indentured servitude for rich families and stuff, and
whorehouses even when they can't work for someone else.
Which is very reminiscent of pre-revolutionary times here in America. Indentured servitude, people trying to get their ride here to get away from whatever they want from the old world to the new world. And it has that feel across the whole thing. And you have some political intrigue. You have the whodunit intrigue of like the kind of the murder mystery. There's definitely a lot of drama behind all of it, between different relationships built, different things happening. You almost get some, like with the political intrigue, you get some like very Game of Thrones moments where there's like really big political maneuvering going on. But yeah, it's just in such a little amount of time that they did an amazing job. And I would have to side with Joe on this and give it a 5 out of 5.
I got a question to pose to you that hopefully doesn't create any cause for spoilers, but based on how season 1 ends, how is there a driving cliffhanger, or does it kind of, I guess, what kind of a feeling does the end of the season give you? Does it drive you to hope for multiple seasons? Like, do you think this may be a long running show?
They're already signed up for a second season.
Nice.
And yes, that the end of the series, the end of the season, definitely left some stuff to be wondered. There was some big reveals, which make you think. The political landscape is completely and forever irreparably altered. So what's going to happen here? Okay.
Is this best saved for a deep dive?
No. The best way I could say this, and you'll find this out in the first episode of the show, or even the second episode of it that he's talking about. That there was 2 warring factions fighting in the land.
Human factions, right?
Yeah, human factions. Mm-hmm. There were the people from the Burg, and then there was what's called the Pact. And obviously the Pact won, and they've been running hellfire and brimstone down on the Fae, and completely running them out of their homelands. So and then they came here to get freedom and get away from all this. And throughout this whole thing, you see the mistreatment of all these people and them getting tired of it. So I'm hoping we're going to get like almost like a Civil War thing going on in season 2, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, dude. I don't want to ruin it for our listeners or myself. So I look forward to seeing where our 2 lead characters go personally and in the greater scheme of things. And yeah, I gotta jump back in. I only have 4 episodes to watch to finish it off. So
the best way I can describe how the Critch or the Fae are treated in this are very reminiscent of how the Irish were treated in New York when they first came to America.
Yeah, because in Carnival Row, the Fae came from like good lives and like beautiful lands, and they're always being mistreated because the industry said, oh, they never advanced, they never technologically grew to where we are. And a lot of that is because they enjoyed the simpler life. They lived on the land and they built great things. And there's definitely this really cool library in episode 2 where you see the scope of like their history and backstory. But there's just two different world perspectives is what this show comes down to. It's just the industrial age kicking off with humans and then the Fae just being mistreated because they don't see eye to eye with the way they want to live versus the way the Fae used to live before being chased out of their homeland.
One of the things I can recommend for anybody watching it, including you, Joe, because you're trying to get back into it, pay attention to everything. There are things that happen in the first episode, things that are said in the first episode that you have to piece together from every episode to finally realize what's happening at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention. It's a very cerebral.
I will throw this out there, just a cautionary. Should have thrown this up front, but this show is very adult. Should have put this up at the front of the whole thing. I forgot to mention this, but guys, there are fairies having sex while flying in the air. There's nudity. There is gore. In the opening sequence, we see fairies fleeing from their homeland and just being taken down by gunfire. It's bloody, and it's wow, but it's good. It's so good. Thank you for that, Lynn. Yes. Thank you for the interpretive motions with your hands and face. Anyway, guys, I think this, yeah. Yes, Matthew, I know there's a lot of things to watch out there, but this is one that maybe you should at least watch the pilot and give us your thoughts. I'd love you to check it out.
Hey, I'm proud of him, and I feel good that I recommended something. He watched all of Designated Survivor after my recommendation.
This is true.
Did you watch all of it?
Almost into season 3. So
I thought you watched all of it. So you're most of the way through it.
Well, guys, let's not blow the newsstand off our run time here. We've gone pretty long today. When you get that finished up, Matt, why don't you come back at us with a review of the series as a whole? But guys, that's a good spot as any. I think we've covered a lot. We let's just wrap it up. Guys, you can catch all our wonderful content, audio, video, YouTube, and podcasting things and reviews and articles all in one wonderful location. Go to nerdentialsmedia.com. Oh, that was a trio of sounds and one mouthing of a sound. Oh, there he is. But guys,
he's not sleeping. He's got his eyes opening looking at the screen.
Yeah. Quick shameless. If you guys are still with us at this point in the episode, I will just shout out one more time that me and Lynn are powering through the first 3 Gears of War in a playthrough series entitled Couch Co-op Catch-Up. We're almost finished with Gears 2. We'll get through Gears 3, and then me and Nick are hitting up Gears 4, and then me, Nick, and Matt will plow through Gears 5 if all goes well.
Plowing.
And I'm bringing back the Player Pass series soon, guys. I'm going to start doing those little gameplay sampling impression videos again. Those were fun. Haven't done them in a while. And it's
October coming around.
Yes.
I'm going to be going back to some scary games. Outlast 2. And hope to finally finish Slender Man.
I will hold you to that, Matthew. I'll hold you to that.
And I kind of made something I'm going to do for October myself.
Yeah.
Starting on the 1st of October on Netflix, I am going to pick every single day. I'm going to pick a different scary movie, watch it, review it, and give you my thoughts on it.
Sweet. And
old and new.
And if you feel so inclined, Nicholas, maybe write up a little something that we can eat each day. I'll be on top of it. I promise you, if we make this deal right now, if you're gonna do that each day and you send me something to post, I will post a review article, and I'll create a little secondary category, 31 Days of October, the Nicholas reviews, or something to that effect.
Okay.
31 Days of Halloween.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
31 Days of Horror. We'll come up with the title for it. Nick's going to watch some scary movies. Matt's going to play some scary games.
Not all
it's gonna be good.
Movies in October are all scary, though. I mean, one of the greatest is Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh,
yes,
love
it. And I will...
Hocus Pocus, anyone? I'm not above that.
I was just going to say, just for everyone that is a fan and hates trying to find it, Freeform will be airing Hocus Pocus 24 times in the month of October.
Wow. It's so you don't miss it, or if you're crazy, you watch every one of them.
My wife's going to watch every single one of them.
Or just own the movie and pop it in when you want to watch it.
Is Disney Channel running the Halloween Town series?
They usually do.
Always.
Yeah, there you go. That's another good one that's not scary.
On that note, gentlemen, stay
tuned.
Should
I reiterate it from not being just scary movies, but Halloween and scary movies? So depending on whatever I decide to watch, I might watch a Halloween themed one with my kids.
Yes,
there you go.
All the above works.
Okay.
31 Days of Halloween, and it can be horror or kid friendly.
Yeah.
So guys, that being said, stay tuned, stay nerdy. This has been your Nerdy Essentials for me, Nick, Matthew, and Lynn. For me, myself, and Irene. I'm sorry, Matthew, Nick, and Lynn. We'll see you on the other side.
Hi.
Hi.
Feet. We see you on the next day on my tip.
So that's what
I thought they were playing charades. And I was getting jealous. I'm like, why did no one invite me to charades? What the hell?
I thought he was telling me to steal third.
Honestly, if it was charades or I was telling you to steal third, I would have been wearing a whole lot less clothes. If we're being honest.